What's up, YouTubers? This is Matador with another classic World of Warcraft video. We're going to take a look at both Retribution and Protection talent trees. Let's take a look at the Retribution Paladin tree. First of all, there's only going to be one Ret Pally in a 40-man raid group. It's very unlikely that they would bring more than one, and one of the main reasons that you're brought is for the Nightfall Axe proc, which means you need to get an upper level blacksmith to make the Nightfall crafted axe. The reason for this is because it has a chance on hit proc to put a 15% magic debuff on the boss, which means that the boss for the next few seconds is going to take an additional 15% magic damage from all your magic users, your spellcasters in the raid. This is a huge impact on how fast the boss can be burned. You're going to use this axe pretty much all throughout level 60 across multiple raids. One of the big benefits out of being Ret, however, is that you are probably the first person that is going to be handed the items to make the Hand of Ragnaros, which is the legendary two-handed mace, which is a lot of fun to play with, especially in PvP. But also in solo play, and there's a couple bosses where you can really make use of it. Let's take a look at what the talents will actually be for a Ret Pally. First of all, you're going to put all 5 points into Improved Blessing of Might because attack power is a strong ability that you need in order to do the most damage. You're also going to put 3 points into Improved Seal of Crusader because this will be the judgment that you put on the boss before you switch to Seal of Command. You'll put 2 points in Improved Judgment so that you can judge as often as possible. And as I stated previously, we'll put a point in Seal of Command because that's where your damage comes from. We're going to put all 5 points in Conviction because this is 5% to crit, and anytime you see a crit or a hit talent among any of the DPS classes, it's absolutely a talent that you should take. Now we've reached a point where we need to get down to the next level of talents, and we have some openings, so feel free to talent however you like in this situation. For me, in the case of raiding, I'm going to say watch your mana conservation and put the points in Benediction instead. So I'll put all 5 points in Benediction to reduce mana cost of my abilities by 15%. You're going to put a point in Sanctity Aura because this is the only aura you will be using. It's only really beneficial to you, however, it is imperative to doing the most damage that you can. You're going to put 3 points in Two-Handed Weapon Specialization because you will only ever be using a two-hander as Ret unless you are off-tanking. All 5 points go into Vengeance, which gives you a 15% bonus to your damage after you deal a critical strike. You'll put 1 point in Repentance. Even though this isn't particularly helpful in a raid setting, it is useful in other environments where you can stun people in PvP or CC people in 5-mans. And if someone is stunned through Repentance or your hammer ability, they will take extra damage from Seal of Command, which is great. Let's move over and put points in the Protection tree. You need to get down to the 3% chance to hit, so the first 5 points aren't particularly important. I'm going to recommend that you put 5 points in Readout, simply because you're not going to be running Devo since you're already running Sanctity Aura. So these 5 points are solely for when you're off-tanking, so it keeps you from taking too much damage. But mostly they're throwaway points. 3 points in chance to hit is absolutely crucial to your success. Next, we're going to move over to the Holy Tree, and we're going to put 5 points in Strength so that we get an additional 10% Strength, since Strength is your hard-hitting stat in Vanilla and Classic WoW. The next 5 points aren't particularly crucial. As far as raids go, I'm again going with the Mana talent here. The reason you put the additional 5 in is to get down to Consecration, which is your AoE ability, so you can do damage to multiple adds at one time. Now you're left over with 1 point with which you can put wherever you want. In this case, I'm going to put the 1 point in Guardian's favor because it's the most beneficial talent to the raid because it reduces the cooldown of your BOP ability by 60 seconds, which can save lives. This is the Retribution Paladin spec. Next, we're going to talk about Protection Paladins. Prot Pallies had a weird role to play in Vanilla and Classic WoW. Because they were the best AoE tanks in the entire game, they could hold threat on multiple adds at the same time, and it was glorious. The only problem with Prot is they don't actually have a taunt, which means they're not really viable when it comes to tanking bosses that require taunt swaps. There is some tricks that you can play with Blessing of Protection, where if you're able to bop your other tank, then you would then pull aggro, but that requires you to be second on the threat meter at all times, which might be a little difficult. So I don't really recommend playing Prot in a 40-man raid environment, but we're going to theory craft what it would be like to spec into it anyway, because you can go as an off tank. First of all, you're going to put 5 points in Readout. Hopefully you're not going to be getting crit anyway, but you need this to get down to shield specialization, so we'll take Readout as the first 5 points. Next, you're going to put 3 points in Precision, because anytime you get a hit or crit chance talent in any spec or class combo, it's usually the right choice to take. You need to be hitting the boss in order to generate threat, and 3% hit is probably the best 3 points you can spend anywhere. You're going to put 2 points in Guardian's favor because it reduces your BOP cooldown by 2 minutes, which again is how you're going to pull threat off a boss from the main tank. You'll also put all 5 points in Toughness, which increases your armor value by 10%, which mitigates any melee damage you're going to be taking. You'll put 3 points in Improved Righteous Fury. Righteous Fury is a spell you have to cast on yourself in order to generate threat. It was hilarious in Vanilla because a lot of Prot Pallies would forget to cast this on themselves until the fight started, and it led to many a wipe or many a chaotic situations. So remember to cast Righteous Fury on yourself. I said previously we'll put the 3 points in Shield Specialization because this increases the damage absorbed by your shield. And you'll put 5 points in Anticipation to increase your defense skill. You want to try to get Uncrushable as a tank, but it's going to be very difficult as a Prot Pally to reach that status of defense. We're going to skip down to Blessing of Sanctuary, which is the blessing you'll place on yourself, which reduces the damage dealt from all sources against you. In addition, it will reflect holy damage back to the attacker. You might pair this with a shield spike through blacksmithing or engineering. I can't remember who crafts them. Then you'll put 5 points in Improved One-Handed Weapons because this will help you generate threat as well. Lastly, you'll put 1 point in Holy Shield, which increases your chance to block by 30%, which you'll have up at all times every 10 seconds. Next, we'll move over to the Holy Tree to ensure that we can get down to Consecration, which is crucial for your AoE tanking ability. So you'll start with 5 points in Improved Strength, which will help with threat regen or threat generation. And you'll put 5 points in Divine Intellect, which will ensure that you have enough mana in order to continue tanking in a sustainable way. You'll put the 1 point in Consecration, again for AoE tanking abilities. Now you've got 7 points left. In this circumstance, I'm going to put 5 points over in Benediction to make sure that I can have my mana be even more sustainable. And I'm going to put 2 points in Reduced Cooldown of Judgment to make sure that I'm keeping up my Judgment of Light and I'm keeping up my threat abilities as much as possible. There are some variations with those last points, what you want to do with it, but for the most part, this is your standard tanking spec. Feel free to check out additional guides on Wowhead and other internet sources for additional spec ideas for best in slot items and for rotations. If you like this video, please leave me a thumbs up or subscribe, or comment down below so I know you want more WoW Classic videos. Thanks.